Okay, so we'll turn to the program. We have an amazing and interesting topic and discussion from with respect to humanitarian aid and development. We will hear from the foreign affairs ministers of Togo and Nepal. But before that, we will start with top leaders from the World Bank Group. Let me invite Mr. Ferid Belhaj, Vice President for Middle East and North Africa of the World Bank Group, who is the World Bank Group Vice President and Middle East Director since 2018. Mr. Belhaj served 15 months as the Chief of Staff of the President of the World Bank Group and the World Bank Director for Middle East, in charge of its work in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Iran. He was based in Beirut, Lebanon, and also has a very intensive experience in Morocco. Mr. Belhaj, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for inviting me, and happy Hanukkah. And very good to see my good friend, the Vice Minister, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's great to see you. So you have a very interesting background in humanitarian development. Let's talk about the situation with the COVID, with the corona. What is the immediate and future consequences of the COVID-19, specifically in our region?
Okay, again, thank you very much. This crisis has come obviously at a time when the region had already a large number of challenges, very important to us. So this crisis has compounded these challenges. So we saw a dual shock here. In a large number of countries, particularly those who are oil exporters, there was the oil shock. Their revenues went down, and they found themselves in a very unforeseen situation in a way. And then you have also the other shock that is COVID. So we found as the World Bank ourselves in a situation where we needed to make sure that this crisis on the demand side and on the supply side would be mitigated as much as we could. So what did we do? We adopted I would say a three-pronged approach. One, obviously, on the health part of it. So we have moved very, very fast on putting on the table a number of financing to help countries move ahead with their health preparedness. We just in MENA, we delivered about $800 million just for countries to procure basic materials, testing materials, respirators, masks, etc. At the same time, we moved on social safety nets. It was very important to make sure that all of those people who fell into poverty would be maintained and sustained. So we engaged there with a number of projects, was in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Morocco, and other places. And the third point is the issue of small and medium enterprises. SMEs are the backbone of the economy in MENA. So what we did is make sure that during that time, we could put as much as we can. Let me just do something here. We could put as much as we can financing for those small and medium enterprises to manage their situation. So at the end of the COVID, they come out of it kind of on top, even though it is going to be very, very difficult.
Let's talk specifically about the role of the World Bank with respect to the, also the distribution of the vaccines and also the prevention of the disease, the disease continuing to be in effect. How is the World Bank going to be involved in the vaccination process, specifically in those Middle East countries?
Well, look, we are, of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have already started with about $800 million in that. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of vaccination, we are trying to make sure that we will be able to serve as a bridge between a number of our countries, particularly those who are poor countries, and the those laboratories, those outfits who are producing these vaccines. It is going to be difficult. So what are we doing? On the upstream, we are working with a number of our countries to make sure that they have the logistical platform to be able to absorb these. So issues, for instance, of like cold chain is very important. Issues like training the people who will be administering those vaccines. Issues that have to do with outreach and preparing people to accept those vaccines. I know that in many countries, in Israel, as it is in a number of other countries, some people are skeptical. So we need to make sure that we advance that. So this is something that we are working on very, very seriously. We hope that between now and the end of the first quarter, we will be able to finally get those vaccines to a number of people, at least 20% of the population of each.
Another question I had in mind is with respect to the refugees in all of those countries, because obviously you're an expert on this issue, and delivering the vaccines in areas where the livelihood is not easy as it is before the disease. I suppose it's another big challenge if you look at the Syrian refugees that are in other areas in Lebanon, in Jordan, in probably also in Iraq. I suppose it should be an issue. So what can you tell us about, you just mentioned making sure that the countries has the platform to distribute the vaccines, but I'm also curious, how do you reach areas, remote and rural areas, in order to make sure, the entire country needs to make sure that the refugees area will not be sick again?
Yeah, look, in all of our financing, in Jordan, Lebanon, possibly other places where there are refugees, we are making sure that the refugees are included in whatever financing we do. So this is not new. This is going to be true for the vaccines, but it has been true before that. During the Syria crisis, when we had refugees going to Jordan and Lebanon, for us, the unit of account, if I may say, is the number of human beings on a territory, not necessarily their passport number or where they are coming from. So it is very important for us that those refugees are part and parcel of the whole conversation we are having with our countries. Again, on vaccines, but also on social safety nets, but also on any other type of engagement, for instance, education and health.
Are you making any plans in the World Bank for the following year, not just 2021, but looking ahead with finance and financial help? You just mentioned, businesses, small businesses, medium businesses. Are you making any plans ahead with respect to that flow of money that will be needed to pick up the economy in those areas?
Yes, absolutely. Look, we have, of course, plans for each one of the countries in which we are working. We have a pipeline for all of these countries. And this is not just for 2021, it's 21, 22, and beyond that. You know that you mentioned Morocco earlier. In October 2022, we will have the annual meetings of the World Bank and the IMF in Marrakesh, in Morocco. And we are planning a large number of events, engagement, and obviously projects and financing with that horizon, that Marrakesh horizon in front of us. Now, I cannot tell you how much money will go, not because I don't know what our capacity is, but it's basically because the region is so fluid that we really don't know today whether we have enough of a platform for countries like Lebanon, like Iraq, like Jordan, and other places where we are moving ahead with some of our projects. For now, again, talking about Morocco, since you mentioned it, and since it is in the news when it comes to Israel these days, we see Morocco as the brightest spot in the whole MENA today, because this country has been doing a great job in terms of developing its economy, diversifying its economy, and opening it up to the rest of the world. So for us, Morocco is really a very good example of how things should go. Nothing is perfect, and they still have some issues, particularly related to the social dimension of their development, but we see Morocco as one of the brightest spot in MENA.
That's amazing. You probably know that we are now following closely whatever is happening in Morocco. Every twist and turn is of interest here. So I thank you so much. I understand that you have a very busy schedule. I'm saying to the audience that Mr. Belhaj will leave us because of his prior engagement in other issues. So thank you so much for taking the time talking to us.
I thank you very much for inviting me and hope to see you soon in Jerusalem. Bye-bye.
Thank you.